In the stock market, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago are up. CEO Yolanda Gongora talks pension gratuity and increments. Bryton Codd discusses Belizean athletes playing in the U.S., and Katherine and Christopher Meighan discuss coffee and books. I'm Destiny Wagner, and this is Legacy Markets. Good night and welcome to Legacy Markets. I am Destiny Wagner, your host for the newest source for intelligent and unbiased coverage of money, business, and the economy, both at home and in the Caribbean region. Here to give you the weekly business headlines and the latest news on the Caribbean stock markets is analyst and co-host Rafia Flowers.
Thanks, Destiny. Now let's take a look at the stocks. The Jamaica Stock Exchange experienced a 1.67% increase from the previous trading week. The top winners were Key Insurance Company Limited, up by 9%, and Sagicor Select Funds Limited, up by 5%. The losers were Proven Group Limited, down by 11%, and Sagicor Group Jamaica Limited, down by 4%. Over the next 12 months, the government of Jamaica intends to list some of its shares in several infrastructure entities on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. These entities include South Jamaica Power, Trans-Jamaica Highway, and the Jamaica Public Service Company. The Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange had a modest increase of 29 basis points from the previous trading week. The top two winners were NCB Financial Group Limited, up by 11%, and the West Indian Tobacco Company Limited, up by 3%. The top two losers were JMMB Group Limited, down by 8%, and National Enterprises Limited, down by 3%. In the Trinidad and Tobago headlines, on the 25th of January 2024, Cabinet approved financial incentives, including potential tax breaks to be implemented by April 2024 under the Special Economic Zone Authority. These new incentives would replace the old free zone regime and provide a modernized framework expected to be highly attractive to investors. And in Barbados, 15 facilitators from the Ministry of Energy and Business National Financial Literacy Program have been chosen to roll out a financial literacy program targeted at second form students in secondary schools and Class 2 children in primary schools. The pilot phase of the new initiative was launched on January 29th. In the news of Barbados Stock Exchange, it has advanced by 5.35% since the previous trading week. The winner, One Security Advance, which was Emera Deposit, up by 22%. The sole loser was One Caribbean Media Limited, down by 3%. Now back at home, this week, the Mexican peso appreciated against the Belize dollar by 2 cents, while the quetzal devalued by 1 cent against the Belize dollar. The Belize dollar also devalued against the euro currency by less than 1 cent. And that is it for the business headlines. We will have a brief commercial, but when we return, Destiny will be joined by our guest, Ms. Yolanda Gongora, Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology.
Legacy Fund will change Belize from small-scale municipal improvement projects to national infrastructural advancement. Unsightly playgrounds, derelict buildings, unsafe bridges, poor housing choices will become a thing of the past. How will this happen, you ask? Well, with the right partners, of course, but not the ones you're thinking of. Legacy is not looking at traditional financial institutions. We will build this transformation with you, the everyday hard-working Belizean citizen. The hairdresser, the tour guide, the fruit vendor at the market. Using the market and innovative financial tools, Legacy brings you and Belize the financial solution to grow your wealth for you and your community. Contact us and find out how you can be a part of this exciting new Belize that we build. Call 822-1794 or email clientservices@legacyfundlimited.com. People, capital, innovation. Legacy Fund Limited.
Thanks for joining us on Legacy Markets. On tonight's episode of Legacy Markets, we want to explore an area in our economy that focuses on education. On December 2023, the government of Belize, led by Education Minister Francis Fonseca, announced that it will fully cover the salaries of faculties and staff in all grant-aided secondary and tertiary institutions nationwide. The Grant-Aided Management Authority of Schools welcomed this news. Currently, there are 728 teachers at 30 grant-aided secondary schools, making up 50.7% of secondary school teachers nationally, and 151 lecturers at 8 grant-aided tertiary institutions, representing 53% of tertiary-level educators nationally. Here joining us today to talk more about the government's latest plan is Chief Education Officer of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology, Ms. Yolanda Gongora. Welcome, Ms. Gongora.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes,
it's a pleasure.
Thank you. We are really happy to have you here with us to talk more about this new initiative, but really we want to take the time to also discuss some areas within your ministry that many teachers are not quite sure how they work, especially when it comes to pensions, gratuity, and retirement. So would you be able to define these terms in reference to working as a public servant?
Certainly. As teachers, we fall under a different pension act, which is Chapter 42, the Teachers Pension Act. And the Pension Act clearly stipulates the period that a teacher can get, the number of years a teacher can get a gratuity, and the number of years that a teacher can get both the gratuity and pension, which is 10 years for gratuity and 15 years for pension. However, the period has to be continuous. For example, if a teacher has 10 years in the system, but out of those 10 years has been out of the system for a year for probably study leave without pay or leave without pay, then that period for calculation of pension would not be 10 years. It would not qualify. So teachers need to be very mindful to ensure that their personal files, both at their schools, that with themselves and with the Ministry of Education, clearly shows the period that they are employed, so that they take advantage or, become eligible for the pension benefits that are afforded to teachers in the education system, provided they are employed by the Teaching Service Commission.
Thank you. And in terms of retirement, how many years does one must put in order to receive their retirement?
For retirement, it would be 15 years. So
okay.
At completion of 15 years, you qualify for a pension. However, the pension would not come into effect until you turn age 55. So you can be a young teacher entering the profession at age 20, and at age 35, you have 15 years. That is continuous, no break. You qualify for pension. You can resign at that time. And when you turn 55, you would qualify for a pension. So that would be the option that the teacher may have. Below 50, the teacher has to resign. At age 50, the teacher then can ask for early retirement or await age 55 to apply for the benefits. Currently, teachers' compulsory age of retirement is 60, but they can choose to leave at 55.
Okay, so prior to the new incentive from GOB, how were the pensions distributed?
Yes, pensions with government schools was distributed at 100%. Pension for grant-aided schools was 70%, an expectation that their managing authority or their proprietors would then be able to afford them the 30%. But you know that sometimes it's a challenge. So at this point, it is still 70% that they would receive from the government of Belize as part of the pension package if they are retiring at this point.
So starting in 2024, all 879 teachers, lecturers, and 175 non-teaching support staff at these institutions would receive 100% salary and full service benefits. In your opinion, what would be the economic implications of this incentive for the country?
Well, our team at the Ministry of Education, under my supervision, we looked at the cost that it implications for the government of Belize. And certainly at this point, I think, as reiterated by our Minister of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology, Honorable Francis Fonseca, it is time for our teachers to take advantage, or for our teachers to have that opportunity to also receive 100%. Now, salaries, benefits will be implemented September 1st, 2024. The position of whether they will be awarded 100% pension is still under discussion, which is, I am sure, for many of the institutions, a welcome opportunity because, we don't work any different than any other teacher that is at a government school. We provide the same service, and I believe that we should be receiving the same, benefits across the board. So it's a welcome opportunity for us to be able to continue to provide for our teachers in the education system. We have put together all the numbers, we have plugged those in, and we are in a position to be able to support that in the coming years.
Well, thank you, Ms. Gongora, for filling us in on that information. We do need to take a short break, but when we return, I want us to discuss the status of increments.
Are you interested in diversifying your investment portfolio while maintaining a low-risk profile? Are you the smart, sophisticated investor that is seeking greater interest return on your investments while investing in your city? If you are, then you should invest in the Belize City Council's municipal securities. The Belize City Council offers both short and long-term securities that are attractive financial market options, which provides the investor with greater social added value satisfaction. You ask why? Because your investment in the securities are reinvested back into the growth and development of your city by way of infrastructural development, streets and drainage construction, parks, playgrounds, bridge rehabilitation, and much, much more. Let's look at the key features of municipal securities. First, they are tax-free. This means more of your money stays with you. You will enjoy greater interest yield without any tax deductions. Second, our interest rates of 4.5% on municipal papers and 8% on municipal bonds easily surpasses current financial institutions' interest rates on savings. Municipal securities are also a great investment in your retirement. The faster your money grows, the faster you reach your retirement fund goals. The municipal paper and the municipal bond are both tradable and transferable investments. This means that investors can get their money back before the maturity date by selling their securities to a third party. Lastly, investing in municipal papers offers investors a steady stream of income. You will receive your full interest earned on a quarterly basis until the maturity of the paper. To learn more about the Belize City Council's municipal securities and how you can invest in your city, call our financial advisor, Alpha Capital LLP, at 822-1794. Email at securitiestrade1@alphacapital.bz or give us a call at 227-3073. Your Belize City Council, always about the people.
Welcome back to Legacy Markets. We are being joined by Ms. Yolanda Gongora, CEO in the Ministry of Education. Ms. Yolanda, for those viewers who are not familiar with the increment system, can you kindly explain it for us?
Okay, the increment system is awarded to a teacher based on performance. And during the course of the school year, the teacher should be appraised twice, midterm or mid-year, and at the end of the year. Using those two appraisals, then the increment certificate is filled out based on the results. And then once the teacher meets a grade of 2.5, the teacher is awarded an increment at the end, at the beginning of whatever is the period of their incremental date. So teachers might have an increment any month of the year based on their employment date. So if I began the system October, 2023, then I would qualify for an increment. October 2024, again, the word is qualified, meaning that you must be appraised and then your performance must be at the number to qualify for that increment. The amount of increment is determined based on the pay scale that you're on. So it ranges across for the different pay scales that teachers are on.
Has there ever been a time that a public service worker does not receive an increment?
Yes, there has been times that teachers probably have not received an increment based on performance. Let's say that they fall below the 2.5 grade, then they might forfeit the increment for that year. It could also be that teachers may lose an increment based on process of disciplinary proceedings. That can be an option that is in the regulations. And when there's an increment freeze, that would be another time that our teachers would not qualify for an increment.
In 2020, public officers experienced a freeze in salary increments. Still, the House of Representatives made that decision official in April 2023 through an amendment to the Public Sector Emoluments and Allowances Reduction Act to unfreeze all salaries. Can you give us an update on that?
Okay, as you're aware, we met with the union when we were looking at how we can continue to work on the approvals. There were some challenges in that some of these schools had not submitted increment certificates for the past 3 years. So there were some check and balances that had to be made. Up to last week, I had asked my office where we are as it relates to the approvals of the increments, and we are almost 100% in approving all the increments for the teachers. Now, once the increment is approved, it goes back to the management, and then the management does the paperwork with submission either to the Ministry of Finance, and that would be through our Ministry of Education Financial Office. But when it comes to secondary schools, the financing of secondary schools right now is based on a grant. So the grant is submitted to the school, and the schools use the grant to be able to pay the increment. So there's a slight difference on how primary school teachers would get their increments processed in comparison to secondary schools and tertiary institutions. Both of those receive grants, be it a government school. Because if you're in the secondary school system, the financing mechanism is a formula, and this is across the board. Whether you're a government school or a grant-aided school, you would receive a grant. However, in the tertiary institutions, if you're a government institution, you get 100%. If you are a grant-aided or government-aided institution, then you will get 70% of the grant.
Thank you for giving us that update. I'm going to assume that there has been a conversation between the ministry and the union. Can you confirm that there was a conversation? And if so, how did that conversation go?
Certainly. We had a conversation in December, and we made some commitments to the Belize National Teachers Union. They have written us with the updates, and we are putting those documents together or data so that we can provide them with the information as we move forward.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Gongora. We are running out of time, but is there any other good news that you can share with the viewers when it comes to your ministry?
There are so much things that we are doing as it relates to transforming education in Belize. There are a number of strategic priority areas that we are addressing, and I would like to focus on the area number 2, reforming the education system. Currently, we're going across the country from district to district, inviting all teachers, affording the teachers an opportunity to come to a forum where we are sensitizing them as it relates to the policies that govern their employment. So this is an opportunity for teachers to take advantage, to come and hear what are the documents that we are using, what are the education laws that they need to be familiar with. In 2000, we had the education rules signed into law. In 2010, the Education Act changed. It was amended, revised, and in 2012, we had an amendment to the regulations. a number of things have changed since then, particularly COVID has taught us that we can do things a little bit different and better and digitally. And so it is more than time opportune at this moment for us to give the teachers an opportunity to be heard. In making decisions, it's important for us to also listen. So I would like to encourage our teachers when you're participating, listen to what we are saying so that you can go back within your school community and you can look at the areas that are affecting you, look at the areas that are a success that we can continue to contribute to the development of our country. And when we return at the second round of sessions, it would be more a consultation process where we then can take your recommendations and put them in a draft that we can review and agree upon. And so we are inviting all to be a part of this initiative. This is a great opportunity for us to continue to make education work for Belize.
Well, that is definitely excellent news, and I look forward to seeing more of you and your ministry. So thank you once again, Ms. Gongora, for joining us today, especially during your busy schedule.
Thank you for the opportunity as well. We appreciate it.
When we return, we'll have Rafia with sports.
Welcome to City Pulse by your Belize City Council. Join us on an exciting journey through the heart of Belize City, where we showcase the transformative initiatives shaping our resilient community. Our commitment to the people is unwavering, and our city's progress is built on solid foundations. At the beginning of this year, we pledged to rehabilitate 90 streets. Proudly, we've completed 71 streets, or 36,431 linear feet, which accounts for an impressive 78% of our commitment. The Council has made significant progress. Among these, 23 have been concreted, 26 have undergone rehabilitation using the chip and seal method, and an additional 22 streets have been further enhanced, being filled or topped up with materials such as hardcore or all-in, demonstrating our commitment to improving our city's infrastructure. But we're not stopping there. We've identified 41 more streets that need our attention. We are projected to meet 100% of our 90 street commitment 2 months ahead of schedule, accounting for an unprecedented 54,829 plus linear feet of road rehabilitation completed within the last 10 months. This transformation is fueled by a $6.9 million budget allocation, with 59% coming from municipal papers, 41% from the Council's operations, and support from our valued partners. Stay connected with City Pulse and witness the journey of a brighter, more connected Belize City. We're committed to your future. This People's United Party City Council is always about the people.
Welcome back. As we focus on the underlying theme of education, we welcome Bryton Codd from BK Sports Group on the show as we explore the implications of Belizean athletes studying abroad. BK Sports Group, founded in 2018 by brothers Bryton and Beresford Codd, emerged from the brothers' personal experience with a scholarship from Brearcurst College in Canada. Motivated by their own journey, they established the organization to aid other talented Belizean student athletes in transition to colleges in the United States and Canada. The organization's core philosophy, Nurturing the Roots, reflects its commitment to supporting promising athletes in pursuing international competitiveness. Since its inception, BK Sports has facilitated the transition of over 15 Belizean athletes to colleges in the US and Canada, securing scholarships exceeding $2 million Belize dollars. Notably, their efforts have been voluntary, driven by the belief that their organization contributes to a cultural shift for present and future generations of athletes. Welcome, Bryton.
Thank you for having me here, Rafia.
Okay.
It's good to be in studio with you.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Bryton Codd, we understand that the Ministry of Education has been committed to financially supporting Belizean athletes who are transitioning into tertiary level education. And of course, that's in collaboration with BK Sports. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we've had ad hoc conversations with the Minister of Education. In fact, even before this current administration, we've had those conversations with the previous administration because we see the importance of sports development and what it does for our young athletes coming up and how it makes them better rounded citizens. And so we've had ad hoc conversations, but we've sort of formalized the engagement that we have now with the ministry and the minister by signing a memorandum of understanding that solidifies financial support for athletes who are transitioning from Belize to the US and Canada to ensure that it's a more smooth process because it's a cost. And so to be able to meet those costs, we need to have financing, we have to have financing in our coffers to be able to support that transition for athletes. Considering again that it is an expense, you're going to a country where it's $1 US, $2 Belize dollar, and so there's a conversion rate as well. So we have to be able to ensure that there's a more smoother transition for athletes going abroad.
Okay, good. So, well, as for the athletes, we've heard names such as Francis Hawes, Kaylin Ingram, and that's only to name a few. When the athletes do get these scholarships, what does it include for them?
It all depends on what happens in negotiations with the coaches from the school and the budget that the school has. We try to ensure that we get the best scholarship through our negotiation process with these coaches. Sometimes it takes months of negotiations prior to them getting a deal solidified because we try to ensure that we get as much covered for the guys. So it would cover their tuition, housing, as well as their meals. Some schools, Division 1s in particular, because they have bigger budgets, could cover everything for some athletes. And so we try to ensure that when we are negotiating, we are getting as much as we possibly can from those coaches to ensure that we close a good deal for these students. Because it is a financial burden if you have to go and draw a loan to send your child to school. And so to prevent that from happening, we try to ensure that we negotiate to be able to secure those funds before we go to that step of actually seeking financing otherwise.
So how do the negotiations they take place?
It's a series of Zoom calls that happens, certainly established through networks that I've created while I was volunteering in the US with volleyball coaches, as well as my time in Canada creating, I guess, that existing presence through actually playing at a school and dominating in the ACAC. It was easier to create those networks, and we have solidified that through BK Sports now formally by reaching out to the coaches and negotiating with them throughout the year. Even when there's not the period of actually engagement, we engage with the coaches to ensure that we build that rapport.
So wonderful contribution on your end, personally. So the Alberta Colleges Athletic Conference, it has just named Mr. Cameron Coleman as 2023's Athlete of the Year, I understand,
yes.
and for the all-time kills.
Yes, that's actually exciting news. I'm not surprised at all because from the first year that Karim went to Barclays College in Canada, he was dominating as well. We were known as the Bash Brothers in Canada, actually. And Karim played the right side and I played the left side, and so it was always tit for tat. But Karim definitely had that trajectory of setting this all-time record for kills because he was scoring about 6 points every set. That's, if you play volleyball and you know volleyball, that's a lot of points in a set. So with that type of trajectory in terms of kills, he was bound to set this record.
Okay. So there are a lot of buzz around Mr. Coleman. So what have we been doing to celebrate?
That's a good question. I certainly think that one way that he could be celebrated more is by ensuring that he has all that he needs to ensure that he goes through his degree, because Karim actually started with the undergrad program and he's doing a master's now. But the scholarship only covers 1 year of his master because he only has 5 years eligible to play, and this is his 5th year. So there's 1 year that he would certainly need that support to be able to complete his master's degree in Canada. So certainly if we want to celebrate him, we could do that by supporting his educational journey.
Okay, yeah. So what do these athletes have to do in return for their scholarship? Like what's expected of them?
To be quite honest, there's no expectation. Certainly just, I think, leave the door open for other athletes coming behind and be a role model, portray and display those characteristics of good leadership and ensure that we continue to bring others along. That's all we ask of these athletes. There's nothing in return, really. But a lot of the guys help by giving back to community when they come back. Like, for example, Daryl Avila had graduated from Concordia University of Edmonton, and he came back and he started his own program in Toledo. And so just giving back to community through their experiences and the knowledge that they have garnered over the years, I think is all that we could possibly ask from them.
Okay. So we know that brain drain is a factor, you know, all around, and especially the athletes, they are no exception. What do you think that we can do to make sure that our athletes, they go abroad and they come back home?
Good question and interesting question. Because personally for me, having come back, I think if I didn't have such a drive for national development, I probably wouldn't have been here right now. Certainly the guys will be receiving offers from international teams to go and pursue professional journeys. However, I think we need to develop our systems here at home. We need to be able to expand the sporting system and what that looks like. How we are certainly compensating athletes for the work that they're putting in, because it takes a toll on your body. Certainly oftentimes as an athlete, I have to work an 8-to-5 job and then I have to go and put in the work at the gym and practice.
That's quite a challenge.
Right, and it's a challenge. So we have to be able to develop that system that supports long-term athlete development, which is something that we don't do a lot here in Belize. Our long-term athlete development is basically non-existent. I should know what I am going to do after I come back as an athlete, or even when I retire from being an athlete. I should know that there is a step for me going forward. Maybe it's coaching, maybe it's athletic training, but there should be another step after that retirement age sets in.
Okay. So, Bryton, I want to focus on the dynamic bunch of four. One of them, they refer to you as Big Brother. So these gentlemen, they're making, you know, waves at Calumet College. There's Mr. Francis Hawes, who is leading the way, Ethan Dawson, Thomas Garbutt, and Braden Richardson. What can we expect from these young athletes?
I think what you can expect is a powerhouse of volleyball players in the upcoming years, and essentially a chemistry that is being built that will not be easily broken, and that's important for any team sport. I want to specifically touch on Francis because his case is very different to all the other guys. Francis was the first person who received a scholarship to Calumet. And this is one of the things when I say we want for the guys to leave the door open for others coming behind. That's how the other guys ended up at Calumet as well. Okay. Because he basically spoke for them and ensured that, you know what, there's a space for you here too. Just keep up your grades, keep performing well on the court, staying disciplined with your craft, and we could actually extend this opportunity to you as well. And I think that's one of the things we ask for the guys when they go abroad, to ensure that they open up the door of opportunity for other athletes. But Francis initially was supposed to go to Canada. He had received a full tuition scholarship to Canada, and he was not offered the visa to go and study in Canada after trying for maybe about 4 or 5 times. And so that's a cost, one, but also it just shows how hard it is sometimes to get our athletes and our people into the other countries. And I think this is one of the areas that we now want to look at in formalizing partnerships with governments from the US and from Canada to ensure that our students could get access to these scholarships. Because it's development on both ends, it's not only for our country, but again, their institutions in the US and Canada benefits from the talent that's coming from Belize as well. Mm-hmm.
Well, I certainly like the support system that they all have over there. So you touched on how we can support, but has the diaspora reached out to support any other way?
Certainly, but I think it could be more formally organized, to ensure that that support actually reaches the athletes quicker. I think there are athletes who could get support. If you're in the US, for example, that's one avenue that you could support the athletes who are there. We have athletes in South Carolina, in Florida. We have athletes in Illinois, in Iowa. And so there's a wide group of athletes across different states in the US that could use the support, because sometimes you have expenses that's outside of school itself that you need to take care of. And so certainly if they could be supported financially, that's welcomed. And so we need to establish a more formal method for that to occur.
Okay. So, Bryton, what message would you like to send to volleyball fans, the players, particularly about BK Sports?
I think BK Sports is really and truly, it came from an idea of wanting to shift the culture of sports development in Belize. As a young athlete, I spent more than 10 years before going from beginner to professional. And I thought that if it wasn't for that leap of faith and getting the opportunity to go to Barracrest College, a lot of our athletes would still be in country right now, simply because there was not an avenue for our athletes to use their athletic abilities to expand their education. And so it's essentially a group that was formulated by young people, because all of the guys volunteered to ensure that we got to this step. It started out really as working in communities across the country, but we quickly realized that we are going to need human resources to be able to do that, and we're going to need financing to be able to do that. However, we also saw the avenue of creating educational pipeline opportunities for our athletes. And now we have young men and young women from all different sports, because we also have Mia Sylvester, who also just recently set a record, an all-time record at her school for weight throwing. Okay. So we are now looking at not just volleyball, but track and field as well, football, basketball. And so we noticed that it was a blueprint that wasn't only for volleyball itself. And so we initially started as BK Volleyball, but now it's BK Sports, because we realized that it could certainly transcend the different sporting disciplines. And that's what we really want to do. We want to be a champion for sports development and the development of our young people. Okay.
So for a young athlete that's dreaming of the opportunity to go away and maybe under a scholarship, tell us how that person can be the recipient of a scholarship.
I think one of the first things that every athlete should have is a sports highlight tape. And you need to ensure that you're taking your craft seriously, because coaches won't negotiate or make deals on athletes that are not taking their craft seriously. A lot of times these athletes, they come from different club programs or they come from the national team program. So that's the first, I guess, eligibility background that you need to have. You also need to ensure that you're doing good in school, your grades are up, because what that does is that it creates an opportunity for you to not only secure an athletic scholarship, but also an academic scholarship. Because what your athletic scholarship doesn't cover, your academic scholarship can cover. So that's important. And then ensure that you just reach out to our page, BK Volleyball, on Instagram or on Facebook, and we will see how we could navigate from there. It's really and truly an open door policy. We don't turn anyone back. We try to help as much as we possibly can to ensure that athletes and their parents get the best out of the engagements that we carry out with coaches. Because at the end of the day, from my personal experience, even though I got a tuition scholarship, I still had to go and withdraw a loan. And so I know the financial burden that has on not just myself coming back and having to work, but also on my family. And we don't want to see that going forward for other athletes. So we try our best to ensure that we engage on their behalf to settle that from the onset.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Bryton, for all the information. It was a wonderful conversation.
Pleasure for having me here.
Yes, yes. So we want to, wish you and BK Sports all the success, and of course our athletes away at Calumet.
Thank you, Rafi.
Okay. When we return, Destiny talks to the innovators of the week.
Legacy Fund will change Belize from small-scale municipal improvement projects to national infrastructural advancement. Unsightly playgrounds, derelict buildings, unsafe bridges, poor housing choices will become a thing of the past. How will this happen, you ask? Well, with the right partners, of course, but not the ones you're thinking of. Legacy is not looking at traditional financial institutions. We will build this transformation with you, the everyday hard-working Belizean citizen, the hairdresser, the tour guide, the fruit vendor at the market. Using the market and innovative financial tools, Legacy brings you and Belize the financial solution to grow your wealth for you and your community. Contact us and find out how you can be a part of this exciting new Belize that we build. Call 822-1794 or email clientservices@legacyfundlimited.com. People, capital, innovation. Legacy Fund Limited.
Are you interested in diversifying your investment portfolio while maintaining a low-risk profile? Are you the smart, sophisticated investor that is seeking greater interest return on your investments while investing in your city? If you are, then you should invest in the Belize City Council's municipal securities. The Belize City Council offers both short and long-term securities that are attractive financial market options, which provides the investor with greater social added value satisfaction. You ask why? Because your investment in the securities are reinvested back into the growth and development of your city by way of infrastructural development, streets and drainage construction, parks, playgrounds, bridge rehabilitation, and much, much more. Let's look at the key features of municipal securities. First, they are tax-free. This means more of your money stays with you. You will enjoy greater interest yield without any tax deductions. Second, our interest rates of 4.5% on municipal papers and 8% on municipal bonds easily surpasses current financial institutions' interest rates on savings. Municipal securities are also a great investment in your retirement. The faster your money grows, the faster you reach your retirement fund goals. The municipal paper and the municipal bond are both tradable and transferable investments. This means that investors can get their money back before the maturity date by selling their securities to a third party. Lastly, investing in municipal papers offers investors a steady stream of income. You will receive your full interest earned on a quarterly basis until the maturity of the paper. To learn more about the Belize City Council's municipal securities and how you can invest in your city, call our financial advisor, Alpha Capital LLP, at 822-1794. Email at securitiestrade1@alphacapital.bz or give us a call at 227-3073. Your Belize City Council, always about the people.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to the Legacy Business Show. This segment will showcase a Belizean entrepreneur, or in tonight's episode, Belizean entrepreneurs making significant waves in the economy each week. These are forward-thinking individuals who are pushing boundaries and breaking barriers. In exploring education this week, we know that things have changed in the business of education, where books may not have the same role as they did a few years ago. However, this dynamic duo has found a way to make the business of books survive. So on our show today, we welcome Katherine and Christopher Meighan, owners of Bricks and Books Cafe and the Book Center. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I've had the pleasure of visiting the coffee shop a couple times, and it's so different and it has a different ambiance. So I want to know more about the journey of and how it came about, but most importantly, touch base on the heritage of it, because it is a heritage site. So can you explain that a bit to our viewers?
Absolutely. I could get started. So we've been, and this is really like a passion project. This is something that came from so many ideas, and we're happy we're here now to start. We're lucky as well because the building is a family-owned building. And we are a part of that family. And so I must say that we're grateful that we got the opportunity to get access to that building and try to bring it back to life. The building, to the best of our knowledge, and we're still trying to learn because there's so much history and it goes back so far, is we believe it goes back to the early 1800s.
Wow.
So we think it was built probably somewhere in the 1820s, 1830s. It was actually passed over to probably 4 great-grandfathers back. His name was William Foreman, and he inherited it from his dad, who was another William. And we know he inherited it in 1851. So that tells you if he inherited at that point, it was probably there for at least 10, 20 years before then. So we're lucky. It's the 2 floors, the ground floor and the first floor is made of ballast bricks. So as you see, we have that unique experience and unique opportunity to have a place of that sort. Very colonial in its layout as well. So that kind of speaks to the history of what we had. So we had beautiful bones that we could work with. And the whole idea and concept of the cafe stems from the idea of how can we bring the story of selling books and the business of selling books, and how can we interconnect it to have an experience. Nothing's better than, sitting down, reading a book, having coffee, having tea, having an experience, having a nice, quiet, even mental health break from the reality that we have today, which is you're on your phone, you're at work, you're on your computer. So we felt that a great mix of that, considering all those different dynamics, would be a good entrepreneurial business to get started with.
That's amazing. Did you always know that this was going to happen, or was this something that just came out of thin air, the idea to incorporate the coffee shop with the books in your
Not
family?
at all. We did not foresee this a couple years back.
It really kind of came out of thin air, like you said. It was just that we wanted to make use of the space that we had, and the book center needed to get a little revamp in terms of sales and something to give it a spark. And well, the coffee shop did come in, and it's been doing wonders and helping us a lot.
So how long has it been open?
Since
September 4th.
Okay, so it's fairly new.
It's still very
Fairly new.
Yeah.
It has been picking up a lot of traction from what I've seen on social media. It's something different as well, but what makes it stand out compared to other cafes or coffee shops within Belize City or Belize as a whole?
Well, if I may, one thing that is very nice about it is that it's in the heart, or what we call the heart of the business part of Belize City, and Regent Street, Albert Street. Down there can be very hectic during the weekend, beginning of the months, and during the week, the weekend, and it's somewhere that you can kind of escape. Because when you're in there, it's easy for a half hour to pass by, and you really don't know anything. You really don't even notice. Particularly even if you pick up a book, it could be an hour you're in there and you don't even notice.
One of the things I wanted to add to that, if I may, is the whole concept that we had was let's give somebody who steps in something to see and something to think about, right, while you're there. And if you are just there for coffee, because we have a lot of customers that just come in and say, guess what, I just need a break from work. I'll come in at 3, get a coffee, and go. Then we have other customers that come in and love the experience and the quiet, as Chris was saying, it's kind of like a little oasis out from the hustle and bustle of the environment as well. And our goal was to try to have something to see, something to do, and something to talk about. And we had the bones in the building, so it was a great compliment.
I definitely agree, and I know that the Book Center has played a huge role when it comes to providing educational materials for different grades and levels of education within Belize. So Mr. Meighan, I know that your parents look for the Book Center to purchase their books. Can you tell us about that?
All right, so the Book Center, for a little history lesson there, it started in 1976 as the Cathedral Bookstore, which was right next to the Holy Redeemer Cathedral. It was a wooden two-story building back then, and they sold books. And again, 1976, time has passed and it's gone through many evolutions. At one point, it was right there in the corner building, and then it moved to Church Street, where it was for many years above the Thrift Center. Many viewers probably would remember that the kids would go there for arty comics and magazines, etc. It was very popular there. And unfortunately, in 2008, there was a fire in that building and it burned down. And shortly after that, they reopened on North Front Street. And it's been there since, and it still is there. So this is number 1 North Front Street, and at that location it was sort of not heavily trafficked, I would say. So the idea about having an outlet at Regent Street was an idea that when it popped up, it was something I definitely wanted to grab at. And in terms of school books, Thrift Center, above the Thrift Center, was really known as somewhere you have to go for your school books. And after the fire, people thought we didn't exist anymore. So now people have found us again and realized, oh wait, that's that same store I used to go to, or my mom used to take me when I was a kid, or even my grandmother used to take me when we were younger. So it's kind of like a revitalization for the Book Center.
One of the other things I want to just add to that is because of where we are and because we want to attract, as wide an audience as possible, we've added a little bit of a mix to the offer in terms of books. So for instance, we have a whole section that focuses on Belizean books. Okay. Right? We are trying and we look forward to hearing from Belizean authors and coming in and us being able to display their books. Additionally, there's a whole little, group of individuals that just look at books as a recreational activity, and especially persons who are frequent readers, they always come back and say, hey, guess what, there's nothing like reading a paperback or a hardcover book. So we have a lot of people coming in, and it's quite interesting to see how many people are coming in and saying and telling us these stories. And then there is the other angle of the manga books.
Oh, well, lots of people currently love Japanese anime or Japanese culture. And one of the ways that, many Belizeans find out about Japanese culture is through mangas and anime. And I've done a lot to bring in some of the source materials. Mangas, you know very popular series like Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer. Maybe you don't know.
No, I don't. I personally don't know.
Right.
But maybe some of our viewers out there may be more familiar.
I'm sure. And I follow it very closely, so I bring in what's very good. And it's also something that you can bring in, and it's particularly very popular in like young boys and girls, of course. But from time has been time, it's been hard to get little boys to sit down and read. So this is partly helping.
Yeah, definitely. With the age of technology right now, you've been in the industry for so long, watching people come in and out reading these books. Have you seen a decrease in book reader or in visitors reading books, or because of the age of technology, everyone is always on their phone or on their tablets, and they want to be more virtual as opposed to being present?
Right. Well, in terms of education, particularly, books still have their place, and throughout the world, studies have been done that it's going to be a combination of both books in hand and books online, particularly for tertiary level or above. But for very young level, for like primary school, it's much better to have something in hand, something that they can work with, something that they can write in. And it's something that we work with particularly closely because we represent 3 companies in the UK who have been making books for Caribbean kids for years and years and years. And they have been very up to date, and they've invested money in making sure that their books are up to date and technologically friendly, because you kind of have to learn to work with technology. It's not something to be scared of. And in terms of reading books for leisure, it's nothing like having a book in hand, of course, right?
Definitely.
And it's kind of like an intimate experience that you can hold it, close it, and open it back up. It's like, it's a gift that you can open more than once. That's what people often say about books.
Well, it definitely is a unique concept, and I'm so happy that you're gaining a lot of traction. But we do want to know, as an entrepreneur, what are some of the hardships that you faced while trying to launch your cafe or your coffee shop?
That's a good question. They're outside of the norms, because there's always a challenge of, figuring out how do we align. In our case, we have three owners here. We're all family, right? So trying to find, how do we mix this in? How do we figure out where there is a good balance between the cafe and the coffee shop, and the coffee angle, and the book angle? I think we've been able to, we're still growing and we're learning. And that's one of the huge parts of, I think, entrepreneurship. It never ends. So there's always lessons to be learned. There's always new things to try. And that's an exciting part of it, right? Since September, we've developed, for instance, what we call a coffee club. So it's a WhatsApp coffee club. And in a sense, we're sharing information on new drinks, but we also share information on books as well. We have hopes and dreams and plans to be able to develop our third floor and be able to create a space where you can have a book club, a reading club as well. So we really want to continue to develop this concept. We have the beauty of the building again, so including some tourism in there and being able to tell a story for people who come in. So that's also underway.
Okay, so storytelling, book clubs, those are going to be amazing things to look forward to in the future. Unfortunately, we are running out of time right now, but we do want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show and to inform myself as well as the viewers about the heritage and the culture behind Bricks and Books, as well as the Book Center. So thank you so much, Katherine and Christopher, for being here today.
Thank you as well. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much as well.
Remember to join us weekly on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. for another episode of Legacy Markets. For now, we want to say good night, and remember, together we create a legacy of a better world. Bye.